Happy Monday, guys. Hopefully the test went well for you last week. I'm gonna try and get those graded. Hopefully by the end of the day today that I'm recording this, so we'll see. But today we're gonna dive into a new topic. It's tied into what we've been doing with quadratic functions. However, we are going to talk about solving them. So the first way we're going to solve them is by factoring. So hopefully you haven't forgot how to factor. So a little background knowledge, the zero product property. When the product of two or more factors is zero, then at least that one of those factors is zero. All right, so really what we're doing here is we're setting individual parts equal to zero to solve the quadratic function. So an example, it says, how can you find the solution of the equation x minus 9 times 5x plus 2 equals 0? Well, the zero product property means you're going to take each individual part. What I mean by that is whenever you factor it, it's going to give you this part and this part. And you're going to set them equal to 0 and solve them. So the first one, I'm going to set x minus 9 equal to 0 and solve it. So I would add 9. I get x equals 9. So that's one of the answers to the solution. And here's how it works, because if I plug in 9 for x, you get 0 here times 47, but 0 times anything is 0. So that's why it's one of the answers. But you also need to do it with the other part. So 5x plus 2, set it equal to 0. And we're just going to leave them as fractions, so negative 2/5. So it says, how can you find the solutions? This is what you do. Set them equal to 0. You can also graph it if you had to, but right now we're going to focus on the math behind it. So I'm going to do one more in this video, and then I'm going to have you guys do one and pause it, and I'll put the answers on a question in there and have you guys solve it. So it says, solve each equation. Again, you take each individual part. This would be after you factored it. They already factored it for you, and you set it equal to 0 and solve. So 2x minus 1 equals 0. I would add 1 over. And you can plug in that answer and make sure one of those gives you 0. Same way with x plus 3. Set it equal to 0 and solve it. So those are my two answers. The tie into what we've been doing is this is also the x-intercepts. So if you were graphing this, this is where it would cross the x-axis. So solving it is the same as graphing the x-intercepts. All right, I want you guys to do this one on your own. There's going to be a question in the video. See if you can get the answer right. All right. How can you use factoring to solve x squared plus 9x equals negative 20? Well, this one they have not factored for you. But when you do factor, remember, everything has to be on one side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the 20 over. Now, if you remember from factoring, it's got to multiply to give me 20, but add up to 9. So I'm going to list the factors of 20. 4 and 5 add up to 9, so that's what's going to factor into. So x plus 4, x plus 5 equals 0. Now you take each individual part and set it equal to 0 and solve them to get your answers. So x equals negative 4. And x equals negative 5. Remember, everything has to be on one side for you to do it. So the next one, everything's already on one side. Can I factor it? So what's going to multiply to give me 64, but add it to 16, right? This one ends up being 8 and 8. You're certainly saying these are the same thing, right? Well, yeah, so that means you're just going to have one solution. It's not going to have two. So if you factor into the same thing, x plus 8 shows up twice, you're only going to have one answer. Go ahead and try this one. This will be in the question. I'll put the answer in there. Move everything to one side, factor it, solve it. Your homework, I'm going to assign 5 problems as your homework, and I want you to submit that to Classroom. So the problems in the video are just practice. The homework is the 5 problems. You can do it on a separate sheet of paper, or you can do it on, print it out and do it on there. If you have any questions, please send me an email. We can set up a time to meet, anything like that. Just as a reminder, don't forget your steps of factoring, right? You can factor out your GCF. Don't forget that. Normally we would factor using the AC method, but we're not going to have any of those in these problems. All right? So those are your 2 steps. You can factor out GCF, try and factor out GCF. I know we didn't do any problems like that, but there is one like that on the homework. All right, guys, have a good day.